Alright, if you're one of those freaks who dresses up in like a rubber dog costume and crawls around the street with your partner like leading you by a collar and a leash,
That's a bit fucked up.
this is something called a podcast, episode 1.A.2.
Captain Flo.
There's been many beta-sodes, so this is the one that we're just going to run with, and we're just going to keep on rolling. So, pretty much, my name is Joshua Henderson. This is pretty much just a show to have an honest conversation about everyday things and everyday life, and a bit of ASMR as well, in case you need this. No, it's not really. But I shouldn't have hit the fucking table then. Post. Magic of post. So it's honestly just an honest conversation, because that's something that I believe, and my producers also reassure me that I'm not delusional in thinking it is something that's missing in the world at the moment. Everything's very dictated by, I'd say, corporate media, and like whoever gets cherry picked to be the voice of the moment. We have a few topics to talk about today, but I like just to rabble on a bit at first, just to let the verbal diarrhea find its place to settle and grow into a flower of beautiful discussion. But there are a few things in the news recently that have triggered me. But it is the first of the third. It is the start of Pride Month. We do have certain members of the crew that identify as members of that community. So we're here to support them and celebrate them. But we can also ask them questions like, why does it take a whole month for recognition? And is it just me? This is an open air question. People in the studio can answer as well. Or people out there can just answer themselves. Last year, did it seem like Pride Month went for almost like 8 months, or was it just me? It was like every month there was a new Pride. There was Pride Week, then there was Pride Day, then there was Pride Month. Then SBS had like Pride on Demand and shit like that. I got no problem with it, but it's just, I think for people, just regular folk, there needs to be a time where humility needs to set in, and as much as we can celebrate everyone's differences, everyone just needs to get along with their day and just start living, and not everyone needs a round of applause for just being who they are. In saying that, I understand that people suffer a lot of discrimination and stuff in the past, but if you can tell me when the Aboriginal Mardi Gras is, that'd be fantastic. That'd be great. I'd like to know. But anyway, we'll just jump straight on to the next. Anyone want to add anything to that?
Yeah, you're good.
Feel free. Okay, sweet.
No.
Chris, I was talking about you specifically. But yeah. So to all our normal folks celebrating Pride out there, enjoy yourselves. Be safe, of course. I just was listening to something on ABC radio about like the old school Mardi Gras, and I think these guys partied a lot harder than we do nowadays. I think more drugs are available now, but they went a bit crazier back in the day. And even during like the AIDS epidemic, when it was like a big thing during the 80s, it did really slow them down. They're still out partying like crazy, and I don't know, is that something, I don't know if that's still even considered these days. They got drugs for that now, don't they? I'm pretty sure they do.
I thought they would.
They would, PrEP.
Yeah.
They got PrEP.
Yeah.
So does anyone care in the gay community about AIDS anymore? Or is it just like, you just take is it like
It's just
it's like a headache now? Like a morning pill, morning after
You
pill?
have to take it every day.
Except take it every day. Alright,
Yeah.
so it's like Valium for me. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, we did have like a couple topics to talk about specifically, and pretty much it was something I was listening to. It was I do listen to mainstream media, so I get a lot of my information from like alternative sources. So obviously other podcasters, other people doing social commentary on YouTube and everything like that. Like people like, I like Decoy Voice. I like Anthony Brian Logan. Like Tucker Carlson is one of my favorite journalists because he's one of what I consider the last remaining journalist in the world. He's not just like a corporate puppet that does what he's told and like regurgitates what the speaking points that are expected to be kind of you know what I mean, repeated in the media, in the echo chamber. I don't know if you remember during Corona, it was I got to get a clip up for that, but there's got to be a clip. Chris, post clip. Maybe I'll try and find it. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, right.
It's the media echo chamber. They had this thing. There is one line specifically, and it was "Build back better, build back better." Everyone was saying "build back better." You turn on every different channel and say, "We got to build back better. We got to build back." And it was a slogan for the World Economic Forum and that, which some people might look at them like they're some kind of like benevolent society looking to guide the world into a better place, but I think they're just going to end up being like economic fascist overlords that are going to dictate how you live your life. A wolf in sheep's clothing, you could say. So that's why I like Tucker Carlson and the ability for people like alternative media, you could call them now. I mentioned Decoy Voice already, didn't I? I'm logged into my YouTube here, so he's there. Decoy Voice is the man. Yeah, Tucker Carlson. Who else? Lex Friedman. You know what I mean? What's her name? The black chick. Candace Owens. She's kind of cool, but it seems like, I don't know. She's kind of, it's not past her place. She's like the right wing Oprah now, young right wing Oprah. But she's cool, you know what I mean? Anyone who can kind of talk honestly, we're trying to do it in the vein of that. Anthony Cumia, Compound Media, like fantastic. He's one of the original inspirations. So from the ONA show back in the day on Sirius XM, satellite radio, New York. These guys were podcasting before podcasting was podcasting, if that even made sense. It should. Yeah, just a group of individuals bringing up like a topic of the modern day and kind of just speaking honestly about it, and that's what we want to do. And like, we're not here to beat up on anybody. Like, I don't know, and if someone might have gotten offended by something I said in the past 5 minutes, the Pride Month thing, everyone do your own thing. As long as you're not hurting anyone else, I don't think it matters what you do in life. But that's like the baseline, as long as you're not hurting anyone else. Like, yeah. And that can go like different areas, like this whole transgender thing with the like young kids. And I think there's a responsibility to let people mature before they make their minds up about everything, like politics. Like, you got a lot of teenagers who like try and talk about politics and that these days, and I think you need to live a certain bit of life before you're allowed to have. That's why you have to wait until you're 18 to vote. You got to wait a little while before you have the capability of understanding to know where to place kind of your attention and your loyalties. And so that statement wasn't here to beat up on transgender people. I've got some transgender friends, you know what I mean? Shout out to Snow, my missus knows who. You just live your life. As long as you don't hurt anyone, whatever makes you happy, sweet as. Alright, if you're one of those freaks who dresses up in like a rubber dog costume and crawls around the street with your partner like leading you by a collar and a leash, that's a bit fucked up. You got to be careful about exposing your intricacies, you could say, to the world. There's a limit. There's a limit to the squeaky chair as well. You getting that, Chris?
Squeaky clean.
Squeaky clean, Mr. Sheen. All right. So I think that's enough ramble rabble. There was something that kind of triggered me. I tend to get like my antennas prick up when it comes to certain things, and I was listening to RN, which is a radio program on ABC AM, Talkback Radio. Is it Talkback? Is that considered Talkback? You can call in and make some comments and shit, but it's not completely Talkback, but it's like AM radio anyway, so it's like news without the picture. And they had someone on from the AEMC, which is the Australian Energy Monetary Commission, I believe. And there was some chick who was talking about pushing for smart meters. Now, this is another like kind of thing that grinds my gears and really gets me, I don't know, kind of talking from not an aggressive place, but I'd say like a defensive place, because it seems that humanity and society has become very complacent in the time that we're in at the moment. It seems like we've got our hands full with so much bullshit. We've got TikTok, social media, we've got, you know what I mean, on-demand streaming services. Just, you're constantly busy looking at everything, except it seems like no one's paying attention to the real world enough to kind of get angry about certain things, or they got to know when to put their foot down before like you're goose stepping for some corporate fascist, you know what I mean? specifically with this global warming bullshit, you got fucking mental patients, and I mean that in the softest way possible. Is that offensive to mental patients? Can mental patients even get offended? Do they even know what's going on? Some of them do. All right, that might be a bit hard. But anyway, okay, these sick in the brain individuals who are going around like throwing pumpkin soup on the Mona Lisa and fucking super gluing their hands to highways at 9 o'clock in the morning while people are trying to get to work. The Extinction Revolution, I think they're called. These fucking, the communists call them useful idiots, which is the perfect term because they just consume and regurgitate like again, like these talking points, these marching orders, how you're supposed to live your life. They went around in Sydney. So a lot of these examples, they come from overseas. We had, I think it was in Europe, a lot. I loved, you see that chick getting kicked in the head by that dude. He hopped out of his full drive. It was beautiful. And it's just so fucking necessary. There's a line of them and just, anyway, I'm not saying violence against women, but if you're an idiot and you get kicked in the head, it can be kind of entertaining. It can be funny for a minute. But I've been waiting to see someone, except in Panama, that guy went a bit far where he ended up popping a few of the extinction protesters, these global warming protesters. They blocked the highway in Panama, and this American dude just, he told them, I'm gonna shoot you, and they didn't move. So it is his fault for pulling out the gun, but fucking don't block a highway, man. You're gonna get some nut out of the thousands of people pulled up in the traffic stop. I'm surprised no one's been murdered yet, outside of that Panama incident. But yeah, I know in like Germany and in France, they're getting dragged off the street and like kicked around. But most of the time when the police come, it seems that they've got these people's backs, and it's like they're allowed to do like this kind of, they're allowed to perform this idiocy in public and become a public hindrance. Like it's reflecting back on coronavirus when people were just going out. I went to the first Freedom Day protest in Cathy Freeman Park. No one even knew what was going on. It was still fresh for everybody. Like, no one even knew when to react, how to react. I had some theories going around in the head, but I didn't want to talk out too loud about them because some people get turned off by some out there theories, you know what I mean? Out there kind of speculation. Even though, in hindsight now, it wasn't fucking speculation. It was a good prediction that had been made. Because this is back, I think, late 2018, early 19, or maybe very early 20, you know what I mean? We'll say 19 or 20, 2020, 2019. They hadn't had the quarantine camps or anything like that set up. They haven't like put any of the lockdowns into place and made like the mask wearing all mandatory. And like we knew that shit was coming, but that's like now in hindsight we're looking at it and we're saying fuck, the government kind of overstepped their mark. Like for a group of people who don't give a shit about your health on the regular day, you know what I mean? Like if you're looking at death per annum, like yearly death rates, then technically the government should have had this reaction about cancer fucking 20 years ago in Australia. Like the amount of people that die from that. So when they came out worried about like supercharged flu, which I'm pretty sure was just another version of influenza, you know what I mean? Because there's no one fixed version of influenza. That's why everyone's getting a flu shot every year. But I don't want to fix too heavily on COVID. But it's like in hindsight, we all talk now like, yeah, they overstepped their mark. They went a bit hard on the paint, like locking everyone up for a fucking year. But no one's asking for like repercussions to be taken to. What do you do with repercussions? You suffer repercussions. No one's like causing repercussions for the people who kind of inconvenienced us, and that's a fucking understatement. I got friends who like they couldn't see their grandparents before they died because of this bullshit lockdown like laws and everything like that. People say they're just trying to do their best with the information they had. I believe that's a bit of fucking rubbish and nonsense. So this is what makes me knee jerk so hard when I see something like this interview with this lady from the Energy Monitoring Commission. I'll double check that's what it actually is. I'm pretty sure that's the right acronym for it, or initialism. They're talking about the smart meters. Now, years ago, Alex Jones was talking about these smart meters, like early 2000s, talking about how they're bringing them out. And most of our houses have them already, but they've got like limited capability. Pretty much they can't regulate appliances in the house. I'm pretty sure they have the ability externally to kind of disconnect you from the grid if they need to. Sorry, it's the Australian Energy Market Commission. I thought it was Monitoring Commission, but I'm pretty sure market is just a way of monitoring. So what they can do with the smart meter on your house at the moment is like either switch you on or switch you off. But what they're talking about now is putting in these new smart meters by 2030. So they want it Australia wide, as far as what I picked up from the interview with Patricia Carvelis and whatever the woman's name was. I did look in the show notes of RN on the RN radio app, which is a good app. I do like ABC, even though they are extremely left leaning for my taste. But I'm not the kind of person to hold somebody's political views against them. As like I said, as long as you're not hurting anybody, I don't really give a fuck. But like, there's a limit. If they start pushing too much on the kids, that's when you're gonna get like a different reaction from me. But for the minute, I'm pretty sure it's a very adult audience that's receiving whatever left-wing liberal fucking propaganda they're paid to shill on their channel. But I do like the ABC. I grew up with it. Everyone in Australia usually watch Play School and shit. So I was an ABC kid. So they're talking about rolling out. So I checked the show notes. I couldn't find the lady's name. But pretty much what she was she tried to worm away, and like the verbal like gymnastics she performed to not just outright say we can control your house. Like, I know switching off, but I'm pretty sure we can probably tamper with the smart meter to do something about it now. Like, if they don't have internet connectivity, I don't think they can actually switch on and off your house. So don't quote me on that. I'm not a fucking expert. This is half speculation, half understanding. But what she was saying is, with these new smart meters, if the grid's under too much demand, they can turn up your air conditioner if they need to lower the demand on the grid, and at certain times they can like switch devices off for. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want somebody controlling the things inside of my house from outside of my house. Like, if I don't know about it, if I'm there and this is a whole thing about being a free citizen, and like everyone I think is getting a bit too comfortable, like a frog in boiling water with this corporate communist bullshit that's slowly getting absorbed into our culture, which is just like mummy and daddy fucking government or corporation know better than me. Like, with this Bill Gates bullshit, like Bill Gates is a fucking global warming expert. This motherfucker barely developed Windows. His friend developed the background of Windows. He only developed the user interface, which I'm a dumbass when it comes to computer stuff, but I can develop a user interface and attach it to certain, what would you call it? Certain coding. So then when you click on that button, it takes you to this fucking part of the program. That doesn't take rocket science. And we'll talk about Bill Gates another day, but this is another thing. During Corona as well, we're going to jump back a minute. Corona, everyone's sucking Bill Gates' balls like he's the dude to run to for the answers, man. Like, that's a dangerous way to be. Like, everyone's got to really start thinking for themselves again. And to have somebody say, hey, we'll switch off your, we'll switch off your TV for we'll switch off the power in your house for maybe an hour and a half, just to make sure the demand on the grid's not too hard. How do we know these people aren't going to abuse those powers? These are things about like liberties. When you sacrifice a liberty, it's very hard to get them back. Like, when you lose ground with freedom, it's very hard to reclaim that ground without like a savage fight. And through Corona, they performed like they stuck most of you. I know they stuck most of you. They stuck my friends, they stuck my families. You allowed them to get close enough to stick something in your body. To me, that's more overreach than I think we ever should have given people, and way too much trust. And I hope that society learns from that. And when they hear something like with these new smart meters, they can think back to like, hey, we had those analog kind of manual meters on our houses for years and there was never a problem. It's just another way of them being able to control you as an individual, control your house. And in the grand scheme, if they control a whole group of individuals, they're controlling society. And that's kind of the wet dream for for like a authoritarian overlord who just wants what they say to be done. And it doesn't take like a historian to realize that if you give all the power to somebody, it's not a good idea. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So yeah, smart meters, I don't think is the smartest thing for our society at the moment. If anything, I think we should all fucking go and smash them with a flathead screwdriver and just go back to the analog ones. Some of the companies actually, we're paying them for a service. They used to have to send somebody out to check the meter. I'll prefer that, because even now they with the current one, they send somebody out a little device that wirelessly reads it, and half the time we don't know what the fuck's going on. At least if we've got a manual analog meter, we can keep track. But I think they're worried about people tampering with them. But if you base all the laws on the people that break them, I think the normal law-abiding citizens will lose too much of their freedom and liberties and rights in that case. So it's a fine line to step. But hey, people are saying I'm not an expert. That's pretty much correct. But I've lived long enough to see the world change enough to realize that we're meant to hold people accountable for the decisions that they make, and we haven't been doing that in the past, I'd say like 20 years almost. Like Iraq War kind of spun everyone out, and we just turned into, I don't know, like a pretty mindless fucking voiceless society after that. So yeah, smart meters, a dumb idea. This is only going to be a short form kind of podcast and show at the moment, because we're not finding our feet. We've got our feet. We're working out studio space. We're trying different locations. This is one of the studios that we have access to. It's not too ideal. It's very tight, as you can see. This isn't an intentional framing exercise. This is like literally the space that we're working with. And yeah, so it's going to be a quick one. And unfortunately, I've already chewed up 20-something minutes just talking about the first topic. The next one, we kind of flow over into the next one anyway, which is, it's regarding the coronavirus. Even though everyone might be sick of hearing about it, but to be honest, if you're that sick of it, get mad and go out and say something, because no one really said anything when it was happening, and now we're dealing with the repercussions of it. What the fuck? Oh my god. Maybe the algorithm heard me talking about corporate overlords. There's a ad for masterclass with George W. Bush Sr., fucking Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, all the scumbags of the world. Anyway, sidetracked. ADD brain, it happens. Let's skip this ad. Do I have an aux cable plugged in here? Or do we need to turn monitoring speakers on? Are we blocked on sound? It doesn't matter. We can look up the clip. We can look up the clip in post. It's pretty much a doctor I've been following since COVID. Now, he started off when I watched him 3 years ago plus. Yeah, about 3 years ago. He started with, when I started paying attention to him, he started with 20,000 followers, and he's now up to 3.5 million. This guy is the man. He's he's a real doctor. So and I don't mean that in like the complimentary sense. I mean that in the literal sense. This guy's like a real fucking doctor. And he was one of the only ones brave enough to kind of investigate closely the progression of corona. Now, he got the vaccine. He encouraged to get the vaccine until he further researched it at the time. Now, he was playing off the information he was getting. And if you watch his videos now, his name is Dr. John Campbell, by the way, at Campbell Teaching on YouTube. A brilliant man, fantastic man. Yeah, I liked his perspective because he wasn't on speculation. He was all about, and it's kind of what the stance I wish more doctors took is you follow the evidence, you follow the facts that are presented. And so even though he kind of took the governing body's word at face value that what they were doing was right, Shortly after, when he got the information and a bit more evidence to investigate more thoroughly and further, he realized that the vaccine maybe wasn't the best knee-jerk reaction idea, and then he started questioning why they were. I think I remember now. It's the time they started trying to shit on ivermectin as a medicine and push for the vaccine harder, when he knew as a practicing doctor that ivermectin has been used for decades to treat diseases like malaria and invasive viral infections of the body or attacks on the body. And then when he's seen them banging on the news that it was horse medicine, horse dewormer, this and that, which of course there are medicines that are used in humans that can also be applied to animals that that are effective as well, and ivermectin's no different. It attacks viral organisms, so in certain body types it's going to attack the right viral organism. So it works for horses because when a horse takes it, it attacks viral organisms within the system instead of parts of the system itself. But so I think I noticed more of a reaction when they were poo-pooing that, and he's like, wait a minute, this has been a WHO authorized top 10 medication delivered to people around the world, and now they're calling it horse dewormer. I think that tickled his antennas, and he started paying closer attention. Then he started getting concerned when the leaflets inside of the vaccine packaging was blank, which if you receive any medication, they're supposed to come with a list of possible side effects and what the medication contains, or I don't know if they classify it as a medication or a treatment, but even substances that are used in treatment are meant to have a certain level of information provided with them so the consumer can make an educated choice regarding that treatment or medication. So this guy started really raising the red flags about things. He was angry at himself for taking the vaccine so quickly, but then he's kind of just rolling with the punches. He understands it's kind of the negative side effects seem to be hit and miss for a lot of people. Me personally, I know maybe 2 or 3, I'd say 4 people that suffered severe side effects. And in that, I know a lot of people. I have a wide circle that I interact with. There are only a few people that are close to me, but a wide circle that I interact with. And it doesn't seem like a lot of people were, not a lot of people, doesn't seem like all people were affected. But I did have a friend that suffered myocarditis from it, that's scarring of the heart. Another friend who got severe blood clots and had to be hospitalized for a short term and had blood work, crazy blood work done. And I know 2 other people that passed away. I would say you could correlate it to the vaccine, or it was just too close to the time that we could excuse it to be natural causes, because I'm pretty sure it was a side effect of the vaccine. Anyway, there's something new this guy's discovered, and it's something that's been raised by morticians and embalmers. So there's a governing body in the UK that monitors certain things happening. I think you get approval to be a practicing mortician or anything. So sorry, we just glitched up on. Does yours do that? Half an hour fucking recording sessions on the Insta360?
Done up to half an hour.
All right, well that's cool. Okay.
Now I know.
Hey, now I know. So it's got a half an hour time limit apparently.
Yeah.
So Dr. John Campbell. So the embalmers and the mortician. I forget what they're called, council or something. If I could play the video, some of our studio work hasn't been sorted out properly, but next time I'm sure we'll be able to run clips through this. But my producer Chris, I'm gonna help him out. I'm gonna dig through timelines. I might be able to get screen recordings for him, and I'll make sure clips are dropped in post to illustrate this point and to fine tune the exact and the terminologies for the bodies that I'm talking about. But the people who are in control of all the morticians and all the embalmers, if there's strange occurrences that occur, fuck me, I do writing. I shouldn't be that bad. Strange occurrences that present themselves during their practice, they have to, these are the bodies that they raise the alarm through. And currently there seems to be these white formations occurring in dead bodies. So when they're embalming people, the process of embalming, if you don't know, it's the veins get filled with the substance to, I think slow down the deterioration of the body post-mortem. I'm pretty sure that's the right way to say it, post-mortem, after death. So they just, when you're dead, they cut like little slits in your legs to your femoral arteries and under your arms into your, I don't know, the main arteries that run down your arm, I don't know what they're called, and in your neck and stuff, like your superior vena cava and all that jazz. So when you get embalmed, they give little incisions, they hide them away so then if you have an open casket, no one has to like see all these fucking hideous slashes on your body. But then they stick little tubes in and they pump this liquid through your body. Now what they're finding is there's these weird formations that are developing through the vascular system, which are like white castings of the veins themselves. So if you could imagine, like, if you ever watch the YouTube clips where they pour hot metal into an ant's nest and then dig the fucking ant's nest out and turn it upside down, and it's like a perfect casting of all the tunnels and intricate little roadways of the ants, that's pretty much what's occurring recently that has never been seen before in the process of embalming and everything like that. And now what they're not sure of is when these formations are developing. Are they developing post-mortem? Are they developing pre-death? So then could these be correlating or contributing to the death of the individual, or complications, medical complications that are occurring like further, or, you know what I mean, that might lead them to death itself? And if so, what is causing this, and where is it coming from? So this is something they've raised the bell about in the past year or so. I will have to refer back to the clip for specifics, but I am just a social commentator, you know what I mean? We'll get better at referencing it, but just if you look at Dr. Jochen Campbell, you could just type in white clots, and there's clips from the UK. Now he's got people from America contacting him that they're seeing the same thing developing in people, and these aren't like little formations either. These are like taking the shape of like whole arterial systems and little, I think almost down to the capillary level, like to the finest little pathway of the blood. This shit's fucking forming. Now, am I trying to point the finger at certain occurrences that happen in society? I don't know. You do the maths. It's strange that this is all happening now, unless it's something in the diet or in the ecosystem that's changed for us that could be forming this. But I think we could correlate it to something that has gone into people that's affecting some individuals. But what they say it's like it's a cell, something within the cell makes it develop this strange protein, which is like a silicon. And again, it's not every single dead body, but it's becoming so frequent that they're having to raise like alarm bells about it and ask questions like, what's causing this? Why is this happening? And to me, it's interesting. And it's as uncomfortable a conversation as it might be for some people. It is a conversation that needs to be had. We can't just ignore, when the house is burning down, you can't just ignore it. And sometimes there's like signs that, you know, there is a problem, you know what I mean? So, you know, if you have a headache, that could be a sign that there's a deeper problem than that. And so I think when these embalmers who've been working for 30 years just recently start seeing these strange, I don't know if you could even call them a clot, because it's not like a ball. It's literally, like I said before, it's like a casting of the vein, and it's leading to like a lower uptake of blood in the body, which, if you know about blood, you know what I mean? So it's going to prevent the amount of oxygen that's traveling around the body, and the way that your body can heal itself and everything like that. Like, restricting your blood flow isn't a good thing for your body. You don't have to be rocket science to know that. And so for these people to get concerned, that leads me to get concerned. Now, I know it's reassuring that you can click on the link on the YouTube page that says COVID-19 vaccine, get the latest information from the Australian Government Department of Health, who were fucking pantsless and useless during the whole virus. You had that dumb bitch, what was her fucking name? Ugliest woman I could have imagined. I couldn't draw a picture of an uglier woman than this person. The health chick. Alright, we'll get to the bottom of it. You know who I'm talking about. It was a chick with glasses and she had like the blonde 5 o'clock shadow on her face, but she was like getting angry at everybody for just not doing what they were told to do straight away. Like, you had these people that were slightly distracting. You had people like this who were kind of just telling you to blindly trust what was going on, which, you know, in the best circumstance isn't a good idea. You don't blindly trust anybody, you know what I mean? You should barely even blindly trust your family, because that can get you into a hard situation sometimes. So, like, they can tell us to click on a little link like that to get the latest information, but these people weren't passing us on all the information they had at the moment. They were aware that certain things were ineffective, like wearing the mask is like, it's pointless. It's a show. It's just like a showpiece. You might as well have a scrunchie in your hair or have like a little bow on your fucking fringe. It was just an aesthetic thing for people just to be like, ooh, we've got a pandemic on our hands here. Yeah, it's flu season. We just caught flu season for 3 years straight. But yeah, so check out Dr. John Campbell on YouTube. Check out it's labeled New Disease. The video that kind of caught my attention and made me want to like pay a bit closer attention, focus on it a bit harder. It's interesting to say the least. You know what I mean? It's strange, and we should be paying attention to it and kind of trying to follow the trail to where this came from and what's causing this, because at the moment I think the kids still haven't been completely affected. There were some who just blindly trusted and then allowed, even though during the whole process kids weren't affected. They say like children under the age of 12 or something weren't affected. I think it was under 18 or under 30. I remember when they first came out. People under 30 don't need to worry about this. And then all of a sudden it's like, let's go stick in 6-month-old babies with it. But yeah, I think we should pay attention to this new disease that's coming up and this kind of complication that's occurring before we kind of make the any new medications or new treatments readily available for children or newborns or anything like that. Okay, that's enough about COVID, and I'm sorry to bring it up. That fucking asshole is sore from the 3 years that they're getting fucked sideways from it, but guess what, folks? It's something we need to keep talking about. We need to do something about. We need to hold the people responsible who kind of made our lives hell during that period. With Gladys Berejiklian gone, and that Alexander Palaszczuk, and like those people just dropped out right in the time where I think repercussions and like consequences are rising to the surface from that whole period of time. But yeah, another day, I guess. The sun will set on that another day. Kind of the last topic, which I've already gone over time with everything, but hey, it's all right. Give you something to chop in post. We've got a bit of Sharon to edit out.
All right.
Lovely Sharon, one of our mentors, a fantastic individual, great human being. The last thing we'll talk about is like free press. Now, originally I was gonna just reference a clip on YouTube, which was Tucker Carlson going to interview Julian Assange in the I think he's in jail in UK, or he's in jail in Europe somewhere. I'm pretty sure it's the UK, but they're looking to extradite him to the US because he released a bunch of emails and information that kind of embarrassed the high brass of the American military at the time. And for those of you who don't know exactly, there was some Hillary Clinton's emails were part of that, though the consequences couldn't kind of be predicted at the time. But the main thing that caught everyone's attention was like human rights violations. There was a group of I'm not sure if it was in Iraq or Afghanistan. Forgive me, I did have like clips to reference, but we can't like listen to them or anything at the moment. But it was either like Afghanistan or Iraq. But there was a group of journalists that were reporting on the war at the time, and there was a Black Hawk helicopter that was patrolling the area, and pretty much mistook these group of journalists for a group of Taliban insurgents, and mistook a telescopic lens for an RPG. And so what happened to this group of journalists is they got absolutely torn up by these heavy machine guns that were attached to the Black Hawk helicopter. And even while the journalists were trying to rescue each other out of these situations, they were just getting blown to smithereens and blasted into pieces by these pilots. And so when it kind of got brought to the surface, everyone was questioning the diligence of these pilots and the people in this war zone at the time. Like how good were these people at actually deciphering who was an insurgent and who was a threat and who was kind of responsible, who was going to wear the responsibility for these kinds of atrocities. And so the kind of the guillotine fell on Julian Assange for releasing that information. I think Edward Snowden got caught up with all that stuff as well, but pretty much the axe fell on him. They like the machine wanted to point the finger at him, and pretty much, if anything, society should be grateful that he brought this kind of negligence to light. And at the moment, it doesn't seem like many people are paying attention or even care that this kind of misjustice is taking place, because this guy's been in hiding for years now. Like I remember back in 2015, he was like already in like the Uruguayan embassy somewhere, you know what I mean, just trying to hide out. And it's when you silence people who push for freedom of speech and freedom of information, which is necessary, when you just want to suck on the teat of the government who chooses and kind of curates the information that you're allowed to view and you're allowed to consume, it becomes a dangerous place, because then you don't know what's happening behind closed doors. The whole thing with government is we're meant to maintain transparency, and kind of that's what people like the aforementioned at the start of this podcast are here for, and that we need to kind of we need to pay attention and push for like the rescuing of Julian Assange, because if people like him can get arrested, then next thing it's people like Tucker Carlson, who was threatened to get arrested when he went to go interview Vladimir Putin. If he asked certain questions, they threatened to throw him in jail, which when it comes to the freedom of the press, that's atrocious. Like, how can you tell somebody what questions to ask? It's what's the threat of asking, or what's the threat of the truth coming out? You know what I mean? If the truth is the truth, it's one of the only things that kind of gives you clarity and helps you find direction in life. So if they start doing that, what stops them doing it to the Anthony Cumias, to the decoy voices, to the Lex Friedmans and the Anthony Brian Logans, and to people like me and my friends here in the studio? Look, Friendly Geordies is a perfect example in Australia. He started talking out about a lot of what the government did, and his house got firebombed. His producer got arrested and slammed to the ground by federal police officers. It is outrageous and crazy. It's a slippery slope, and it's not one I think we have fun and go wee on the way down. You end up in a really bad place like a gulag or something, getting re-educated by your corporate authoritarian overlords. And it's saying that I'm getting told we need to pack it up in the studio. We're gonna have to put it a wrap on this one, and after editing it should be a nice tight little package podcast, so hopefully it's good enough for you to consume. I didn't pay too much attention to the camera. Next time I'm gonna be looking you in the eye straight away, stroking your face. And yeah, this is Something Called a Podcast. I'd like to thank my producers, Chris and Andre, for being very supportive and having my back and pushing for this. And we're going to have a lot more to come, at least once a week. So we'll talk to you soon. Peace.